We're here. We're here. We're doing it. My camera's a little too high, but it's fine. Make it prettier. I'm pretty right now, but I don't know. But okay, we're talking about Theraguns and bumpy balls, ice things, hyper ice and laser ice and cryo ice. That's like ice. So look, there's a million tools. Do you need all of them? Do they do things? Yes. Do they cost money? Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was a Morning Joe brought to you in the afternoon because we had the place blew up and there was stuff to do, so we just got it in the afternoon. But we're talking about bumpy balls, we're talking about stim units, and I want to get people to understand that every one of these devices sort of goes in one of just a couple columns. And so when they say this device is going to decrease your pain, all right, well, they're not lying because that device probably exists in one of the columns that really do make sense. So these columns are a heat treatment, a cryo treatment or ice, and then a kind of manual treatment. So you can get heating, cooling, or some form of touching. And then if you really wanted to do it, you could say just temperature and manual, because hot and cold are just the same spectrum on one temperature with thermometer, right? Happy Monday. Is it Monday? Jeez, it's Monday still. Feels like a Wednesday. All right. So we're talking about the balls and things. Now, here's the thing. So if you can put any of these items into either just temperature change or manipulation, well, then you can say any item that has manipulation to its core of why it's going to work, yes, will make you feel better. It will move tissue because that is what it's doing. Will it move fascia? Well, yes, technically it's moving it. Is it doing anything to fascial tissue? That's hard to say. It's hard to say if you're not doing a test of that kind of thing. But any pressure on your skin moves your fascia around. If I push down and squeeze and I go sideways, there's a lot of stuff beneath my skin and to the level of my muscles, some of which is fascia, and I'm manipulating it. So look, any of these devices in these columns do what they say. However, they only do a limited amount of what they say. So we're going to stay on the bumpy balls. We're going to stay on the foam rollers because I think that's what people really ask most questions about is whether or not these things are useful, whether they can be used to break up scar tissue or disrupt knots or trigger points. That's very dubious. The people who sell those things are using the literature and they're using the fact that it's a thing to sell you that thing does something extra. All right. So with the bumpy ball, and I love this one because everyone wants to use it on their lateral thigh. Every runner I've ever treated thinks they have IT band syndrome. Every runner I've ever treated thinks that they have snapping hip or bursitis because of the snapping over the bursa on the knee, where that typically happens with runners and high volume folks. And then they'll get on there with a foam roller or something heavy or something really, really aggressive, and it'll hurt. And they'll say, wow, that's great. My quad feels better, or my IT band is looser. Okay, well, the idea that we could change the physical nature of your issue to of your IT band of your I'm blanking right now. Of the connective tissue that attaches your TFL to your knee, so your IT band, if that cannot be manipulated from the outside, and secondly, even if you take it out of the body and physically attempt to pull it apart, the amount of force needed to move it without ripping it to pieces is so great. We literally can pull automobiles with it, the kind of force we're talking about. In fact, one of my favorite studies is they actually took one of these things, and the amount of force it took to break them apart actually took a tank, like a physical machine, to rip the IT band along its long axis. It does not happen. It cannot be stretched in that way. And certainly going through it with any amount of force that you can impart from the outside is not going to manipulate that tissue to provide it any amount of mobility in that direction. However, most folks don't even need that work done. Most folks with those issues have quad trigger points or quad issues. And that's why when they're doing the foam rolling or doing the soft tissue work, they're feeling tightness, they're feeling pain under the knee. Well, that's because the trigger points in the quadricep refer right to the knee. So it's not even a very big surprise. They're just giving credit to this foam thing on their IT band, which actually is so far from what you get the credit that, if you just said, what, I just have one trigger point in my quad, I'm trying to get rid of it with this pressure. Okay, I could say that might do it. You might be able to deliver enough ischemic pressure, that is pressure enough so that the oxygen can no longer get to that area where that contraction stops. So that's a possibility. And I cannot say to you that wouldn't work. Okay, you could also try heat, right? A hot pack right on that same trigger point on the outside of your quad could get tissue relaxation. You can do some of your own soft tissue work with your hands or another tool. And so, yes, that's fine. But along the heat thing, we have folks using all kinds of laser. Um, there's ultrasound, which we have in clinic, which we know is just a heating modality. Hot packs, which you can get anywhere. You can create one in your house with a towel and a Ziploc bag. That is a terrific heating modality. And the cool part is that our hands are even a cool heating modality. So the manual aspect of a ball, a bumpy ball, a foam roller delivers heat, delivers blood flow, and delivers deep heating to tissue that is also very useful for manipulating in the fascial planes. So you can chalk up the foam thing to kind of also delivering heat in a roundabout sort of way. The neat thing about regular heat is that a hot pack actually has deeper penetration of heat into your tissues than does ultrasound, than does a lot of these laser things. So what are we messing around with cold laser, which, I mean, again, dubious findings at best, could say, yes, synthesizes all kinds of things, because light does that. UV light does that. Does the light that it's specifically emitting specifically going to heal your injury? Oh, that's a stretch, man. But it'll sure sell something, and enough people say it. So, just in the end of these, to tie this all together, and we're going to have multiple episodes about this because every single year another device comes out. And really, it's just another iteration of another kind of cryothermal thing, or another kind of manipulation thing, or like a stim thing. A stim thing has its own sort of category, but I would place it in the manual category specifically because it's working on trying to tricking your brain into concentrating on a stimulus that is just not really painful. So it does similar work along the mechanisms of the manual care than, let's say, the thermal care or the cold or hot. So go try your bumpy balls. If you want to be accurate with what it's doing, name a tissue, say that you're aiming it at that tissue, and that's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to get taller, you're not trying to get stronger, because none of those things are going to happen with foam roller. All right. Enjoy your afternoon. Jeff, I know I'm going to see you here soon. And kick some ass. But